Welcome to Get Paid for Your Pad, the definitive show on Airbnb hosting, featuring the best advice on how to maximize profits from your Airbnb listing, as well as real-life experiences from Airbnb hosts all over the world. Welcome. We are your hosts, Josefa Kapadia and Jasper Rivers.
Get paid for your pad. 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 Get paid for your pad.
Get Paid for Your Pad, episode 64. Welcome everybody. Today we have a guest on the show who's already been on the show in episode 35. His name is Ian McHenry and he is the co-founder and CEO of Beyond Pricing. So Ian, welcome back to the show.
Thanks, Jasper. It's good to be back.
How are you
Good to see
doing?
everything. Good. Things are good here.
How's everything going with Beyond Pricing?
Good. Things are going great. I think when we last spoke, we might have only been in a few markets. And now we just raised a nice round of venture capital, $1.5 million to really help us expand and get us on into a lot more markets. Build up our support team so we can help people out a lot more one-on-one, and then also get us on some more platforms besides Airbnb. So we're now in, I think we're at about 30 markets, and in the next week or two, we should be in the top 50 markets around the world, and that should cover approximately 60% of all listings on Airbnb. Eventually, we'll get to that long tail, but it's exciting to sort of see people that have been waiting for us for a while. We're finally getting them access.
Mm-hmm. And for those who do not know what Beyond Pricing is, can you just give a quick summary of what you guys do and how you guys can help Airbnb hosts?
Yeah, definitely. So we launched about a year ago to sort of bring dynamic pricing to Airbnb, and so we saw the whole problem where hosts, didn't really have too many tools at their disposal besides, of course, your fantastic blog, to really kind of help them figure out how should I price my place and how should I vary that price with demand. And so a lot of people had single prices. And they would find out that they get booked out in the high season, and then they aren't getting many bookings in the low season. And so we built Beyond Pricing to have a simple tool where you can just even preview your recommended prices with your Airbnb listing URL, see those prices, and connect your account to automatically push them to your Airbnb account. And so, we wanted to do that to really kind of democratize, sophisticated big data revenue management and dynamic pricing that used to only be available to kind of the big hotels and whatnot, that a lot of us have to compete with as Airbnb hosts.
Right, and I've been using it for a while now, and what I really like about it is that I just don't have to worry about it, I don't have to go into my calendar, update my prices, think about what they should be. I'm pretty sure that your team of mathematicians and data analysts can do a better job than myself.
Yeah.
And also I think it's good to have an updated calendar daily as well, because I think it's one of the factors that Airbnb sort of uses to determine which listings to show to users. They like active hosts who update their listing, and so having your listing automatically updated, at least the calendar, I think helps in that respect as well.
Yeah, it's definitely a nice side benefit. You'll always have a most up-to-date calendar. Those little factors kind of feed into, for people that don't know, although they do make it fairly prominent, it really feeds into where, if you're on Airbnb, your listing will show up. There's lots of factors around reviews, around how frequently you update your calendar. But really what Airbnb wants to do is make it so that the ones that show up top, they know that those calendar, that when someone goes to book a day, that it's actually going to be available.
Right.
And the proxy for measuring that is whether or not you last updated your calendar. And with Beyond Pricing, we're updating that calendar every single night, so your calendar will always be updated.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and it's really annoying when you make a booking on Airbnb, because I use Airbnb, during my travels a lot, and it's so annoying when you request to stay somewhere, and then the host replies and says, "Oh, sorry, it's not available." I'm like, okay, well, update your calendar, and that's that's probably the most annoying thing that I come across using the platform. So I imagine that Airbnb is probably aware of that, so they should be giving that a pretty high sort of factor in determining which listing to show.
Exactly, right. And they want to see that high conversion for a lot of reasons. It's better for guests, but it's also better for owners and hosts too. If you're on some other platforms, ones where guests are used to calendars not being updated, what those guests will do is they'll just message 20 listings in an area with the same message. Hey, are you available for these dates?
Mm-hmm.
And so if you're an owner and you're getting these inquiries, you're probably we find that people get almost 5 times as many inquiries to get a single booking as they do on Airbnb. So that's one of the things that they really emphasize, because they know that it's great for guests, it's great for hosts too. It saves you a ton of time if if a larger percentage of people that are inquiring are actually booking.
Mm-hmm. Yep, that makes a lot of sense. So you mentioned the different markets that you're in. Can you sort of give an overview of which cities, like which countries, etc.?
Yeah. So it's pretty much most major markets. So we're in Paris, New York, London, Barcelona, Berlin, Los Angeles, Rome, Amsterdam, Sydney, Miami, San Francisco, Tel Aviv, Lisbon, Montreal, Toronto, Vancouver, Austin, Madrid, and a few others I'm forgetting that are a bit smaller. Washington, D.C.,
Is that
Chicago.
Is the way you expand, you just look at what the next big market is and you just go down the list?
Pretty much. That's our goal. There's a few exceptions. We're not in Rio de Janeiro yet. We're working on that. It's a pretty interesting market. But our goal has been to, not really just throw this out there to everyone at first, because we could create some generic model that goes out there and says, here's the price for that whole city. We could just track hotel prices, or just look at kind of changes in seasonality and just put it out there. And it would definitely be probably better than someone that just has one price all the time. But we really want to test it. In every single city we go, we make sure that we have at least a half a dozen users that have tested it before we launch that city. And so, that we really kind of care about, getting it right. So we'll be launching it, as I mentioned, kind of the next 20 biggest cities. And that should give us coverage for about 60% of the world. And we're thinking about possibly rolling it out to everyone, with a disclaimer that, these haven't been tested yet. But we really don't want to kind of expand too quickly, because we know if we launch and we give people bad prices, that could cost them a lot of money, and we don't want to do that.
Right. One question I have is, you guys are really focused on the pricing, right? I'm sure you are in touch with a lot of your users, and I can imagine that pricing is kind of one thing, and a very important way to improve your results. Now there's a number of other things, and I'm sure you guys have some expertise on that as well. Like, do you recommend like other aspects of Airbnb hosting? Do you give people advice on other aspects as well, or no?
We do when they ask, but otherwise we just refer them to you, Jasper.
Okay, that's good. That's what I like to hear. See, this is a trick question, actually.
I know it. No, but you're absolutely right. We're data nerds. This is what I did for, mentioned on the podcast before. This is what I did for a decade of my life with the big global airlines and hotels. And this is what this is what this is what I live and breathe, and this is what our whole team does. But that being said, there's a bunch of other things you can do to increase your revenue. Pricing is just one of them, and we price, and it's just one thing that's like really hard, requires a lot of data, and it's just something that we can provide a lot of benefit for. On the other side, and we see this with people all the time, things like, and you mentioned it, really having high quality photos, really keeping your star rating up, having great descriptions, all these sorts of things around your listing that you mentioned on your blog and your book and those sorts of things. Those have as big an impact as pricing, to be completely honest. And what that's all about really is kind of conversion rates. How likely, when people flip through those hundreds of listings on Airbnb, one, how likely are they to just click on yours, and two, how likely is Airbnb to show your listing higher up?
Right.
So if to all those listening, if you haven't already combed through the blog or bought the book or any of other of those great outlets for Jasper's advice, definitely do that. Do that first.
Well, I will second that. So, yeah, because I was thinking, since you connect directly to the listing, can you see all the data surrounding listing? Can you see how many views it has, how many bookings, etc.?
Yeah, it's a good question. We can see bookings. We don't really get too intrusive on people's accounts. We're really just sort of there to see mostly the publicly available information, number of bedrooms and those things, and then to push our prices in. But because we're pushing prices in, we do see those bookings, and seeing those bookings helps us improve the algorithm, because for everyone that's using our prices, we know, whether or not they're getting bookings at our prices or if they're booking up too quickly. And so that feedback loop is really important and helps improve our algorithm. But in terms of the number of views, we don't see that. And we actually, we've thought about using that, but we found that it's not quite as good of a predictor. Because that can just change with like how frequently something's showing up. We'll look at using it in the future, but really an interesting thing, and something that actually scares people a bit when they first start using us, is their views might go down, which is interesting. And the reason why that happens is because let's say that you had a 1-bedroom in San Francisco, and I apologize for using San Francisco, but it's where we are. It's easy to talk about. But if you had a 1-bedroom and it was $100 all the time, and you were booked up 90 days ahead for everything, because you're really underpriced, you're probably getting a lot of views, right? People are really interested in it because the price, it's way underpriced, and so when they're searching, it'll always show up. And so once you increase that, let's say that the right price for that 1-bedroom is maybe $175. When you increase it to 175, you'll actually get fewer bookings because you're not showing up in as many results and those sorts. Oh, sorry, you'll get fewer views. You'll get fewer views because it's not showing up as many queries and stuff. However, what really matters is, at the end of the day, how many bookings you're actually getting, and so we encourage people to concentrate on that.
Mm-hmm. Right. And
yeah,
the only thing I'll say is, what I notice, I'm pretty fully booked for the next couple months. Now that I started using your algorithm, that should be going down because I'm kind of overbooked. So I'm not charging enough.
Yep.
But I've also noticed my views actually going down because a lot of people, they put in the dates when they search, right? So my listing won't show up because it's not available.
Exactly. Yeah. No, that's another good point, right? Your views will go down because it's just not available if you're already booked. And so that's an important aspect too. What you really want to worry about is, well, even in your case, right? If you increase your prices and you're not getting booked as far in advance, you might actually see a decrease in bookings on a day-to-day basis. What really matters is, what percentage of your next 30 or 90 days are booked. So because Let's say I, again, priced at $100 and my next 60 days got instantly booked. And then I turned on Beyond Pricing and it increased all my prices to 175. You would see those bookings slow down purely because I'm absolutely full the next 2 months.
Yeah, exactly. And I mean, one thing I like about the app as well, it gives me this health score, and it makes a lot of sense to me, because you guys know exactly when people book, and so how much, the percentage of days that you should be booked at any point in time for like the next month and the next 2 months and the next 3 months, etc. So I've been sort of adjusting my base price a little bit to to get that health score up, and it's a really easy way for me to monitor it. I just look at the health score and then I know what I should be doing.
Yeah, no, that's exactly right, and you're using it exactly the right way there, Jasper. We've had people actually say that's kind of the feature that they like the best. Even in markets where we aren't, what's interesting is people said, well, I don't care about the prices, I just want to know my health score. Because for hosts that have a number of listings, because we also power pricing for a lot of these kind of up and coming property managers, like MyVR Host and Guest Hop and One Fine Stay. For them, when you have a lot of listings, it's hard to keep track of them and see which ones are doing well. With a health score, and for users that aren't familiar, you can actually connect multiple accounts, and it'll all show up on one dashboard for you. So it's really easy, and you can just go down and scan and see which listings maybe need your attention, and have a lower health score. And people really kind of love that. They'll just kind of check in, once or twice a week, scan that, see which ones are health scores, see what's going on, adjust their base price, maybe make some changes on the calendar, because we do let people change individual days, and then hop back out. It takes them a few minutes.
Awesome. And for people who aren't using your app, there's a way to do a demo, right? You can actually see the prices without on beyondpricing.com, right?
Yeah, on Beyond Pricing, you can go there, and that's for people that don't want to connect their account, or they just want to see what our recommendations are beforehand. We've done this from day one. You can just go in, put in your Airbnb URL, and see our recommendations.
Awesome. So let's talk about something else. A few days ago, I noticed in my Airbnb listing that suddenly I saw recommended prices by Airbnb. So Airbnb is kind of just stepped into your market, really, and and they are now they have this calculator, and if you turn it on, it will just fill in the prices that they recommend.
Yep.
So let's talk about that. What are your thoughts so far?
Yeah, it only took them a year, and they got it out the door. So it's good to see it. It's interesting. It's really validation about the importance of it, and I think they saw the demand for Beyond Pricing and how many people were using it, and realized that this is something, this dynamic pricing would be something that's good for all of their users. So we, like I said, it came out a day or two ago more broadly, but they've been testing it in Tokyo and Amsterdam beforehand. Some of our users had seen it. So far, we're still collecting information, and for any of your users that aren't using Beyond Pricing yet, we'd love to get in touch. Just shoot us an email, or shoot me an email, ian@beyondpricing.com. But we'd love to sort of see your calendars, and Airbnb pricing recommendations, because we're really trying to dissect what they're doing. Well, a couple things that we've noticed, and it's really, at first we thought, wow, their prices are incredibly close to Beyond Pricing's, because we saw their recommendations for people using us, and we were like, wow, they track exactly ours. They go up when ours go up, they go down when ours go down, and then we kind of realized what it appears they're doing is they're actually just making their price increases on top of the individual days that are already on your calendar, rather than on a base price like ours are. So what's interesting about that is, what we do is we'll take your base price. Let's say it's $100 for your one bedroom, and then we'll fluctuate that up and down based on demand, right? So for a big event, let's say for New Year's, we would then kind of take that 100, and let's say our algorithm says, well, New Year's is a lot of demand. We're going to double that price, say to $200. What they're doing is they're looking at your whole calendar, and if they looked at New Year's and they thought also that you should double it, they're not looking at what your average was for the year, that $100 and doubling it. They're looking at what your price was for that day, for New Year's Eve, and then doubling that. The problem with that is if you are already using Beyond Pricing, or you just already knew, also because you listened to Jasper and you increase your price for that holiday, so let's say you would increase that price to $200 on your own. Airbnb would recommend you then to double that even further to $400. And that seems to be what they're doing. They might change that, but if that's the case, it's definitely something to look out for if you're already doing dynamic pricing. For those, though, that are not, that just have kind of mostly flat prices, we still haven't found anyone, again, because we mostly talk to users of Beyond Pricing that are already doing dynamic pricing. For those that have flat pricing, we'd love to get in touch and sort of really give Airbnb a fair shake so that we can see what it recommends for them. But it's pretty interesting.
Yeah, it is really interesting. So if it's true what you're saying, then what people should really do is set their prices, set this one price for every single day of the year, right?
Yeah, it is to make it work right. But what I found, so I tried that with my accounts too. And if you do that, it doesn't adjust then. It still sets the same recommended price. It's something that's really tough. And we'd always wondered how Airbnb would come at this. Because as you know, with us, we still mess around with base prices, and we give people insight onto how to adjust their base price. And we really think that these models need to be with a average base price that you adjust based on our house score, and then a dynamic price, and that those two need to be kind of separate. They've kind of joined it together, and so we think that'll create some issues. But we're still kind of looking into that. But if you, as you said, if you currently set them all flat, it doesn't actually change those prices. So we have like a few accounts too where that we just have, and we've set our prices, say for a one bedroom, to $500 a night, right? Which is a price I would never book at. They are making their recommendations based on that, so they'll increase that 500 to 600 and all this. So it's not fully intelligent yet.
Right. So, oh, that's interesting. But you're saying if you set a flat price for every single day, they won't adjust it?
No, yeah, give it a try. We didn't see it change at all. Like if you go and if you change a whole month, say to $500, it won't change if you have increased that, which is interesting. Well, so we're not fully sure exactly what it's basing things off of, and there's not too much transparency in the tool right now. They have an interesting on the side, which is this slider, and we've always thought about doing this. It's kind of what we were going to do is like a risk slider, to say, oh, do I want to be more sure that I'm going to book up and underprice it, or do I want to be riskier, and set it, at exactly what Beyond Pricing recommends, or do I want to even go beyond that and increase it? What's interesting on their risk slider is it just sets the middle to whatever they recommend, and then they don't actually show you the percentage decrease in probability. If you increase the price, it just says that you're less likely,
Right.
Which is kind of a no duh, right? If your price above what the ideal price is, of course you're less likely to get booked. If your price below what the ideal price is, of course you're more likely to get booked. And then that's kind of what all that risk slider is saying.
Right.
But it is actually a really cool way to represent that to people. They really have great design on what they've rolled out too. We really like that.
Yeah, no, I mean it's easy to use, it's convenient, it looks good. But in the end, what I'm really interested in is just how much what's the revenue going to be by the end of the month.
Yep.
And I think most
Yeah.
people are probably most interested in that.
And what's the other thing is, we've been doing this for a year, and we price over $1 million a week, and we've heard everything. Like, we've worked on this product for so long, and we just know that, we've heard all the complaints and all the feedback and whatnot. And one of them is, and we're already hearing it from our users who said, I'm going to give this Airbnb thing a try. And they're initially really excited, because if what we think is going on, it just takes everything that we had priced and then increases it 30%. And as a user, you're like, oh, this is great. What was beyond pricing doing? I could be making 30% more. And then what you'll see is in 2 weeks they won't get any bookings, and then they'll either turn it off, come back to us, or complain to Airbnb about, oh, why isn't this happening, blah blah blah. And really, like, suggesting prices is just, it's a very risky thing, and you have to, and it's something where it creates a lot of customer support questions, and we really have a team that's really devoted to that, and the hope is that Airbnb becomes accessible to help people answer those pricing questions. But I'm guessing that it's not going to be people really well versed in pricing that are going to be answering those questions for them. So we'll see how that works.
Yeah, I'm not too confident on that either, because what I'm hearing from a lot of people is that most people don't really have good experiences with the Airbnb customer support.
Yeah.
The complaint that I usually hear is that they feel like the person that they're talking to doesn't know what they're talking about.
Right.
So that they probably have to work on the education there. But yeah, I think the average customer service representative at Airbnb is probably not has not too much knowledge about the actual algorithm behind the pricing and etc.
Yeah.
Did Airbnb consult you guys at all?
Did they what?
Did they consult you guys? Like, I imagine if they want to make an algorithm that predicts prices, like, did they ask you guys for advice or communicate with you?
So, last year they asked us to talk at South by Southwest on pricing, and we know them really well. We talked to them before about helping them out, and we really like them. At the end of the day, we're trying to build something for everyone, for whether or not they're on Airbnb or HomeAway or VRBO or Wimdu or whatever channel they're on, and we'll be rolling out a lot of those partnerships very soon. And so we couldn't really tie ourselves just to Airbnb, but you'll see us come out with some new things to really help every single platform really have this the benefit of dynamic pricing. And so that'll be coming up soon.
One more thing I wanted to talk about, and this is the only thing that I had questions about when I started using the app.
Yep.
Is this risk thing that we talked about.
Yes.
And here's why it sort of came up when I looked at my calendar. So what I do is I decrease my prices pretty aggressively in sort of last minute, so in the last week or two.
Yep.
And the thoughts behind that is that it's no good to have an empty house. An empty house makes zero. So I want to lower my price and increase the chance that I'll get a booking last minute.
Yep.
Now, once I started using Beyond Pricing, I noticed that it wasn't decreasing the price as much as I expected.
Yeah.
And we talked about this, and you made a good point where you said, well, let's say you decrease it from 200 to 100. There's a much higher chance that you'll get booked. But in the end, if you get booked 10 times at 100 or 5 times at 200, that doesn't really, in revenue, that's the same, right?
Yep.
And so there's a risk. There's a risk thing involved.
Yes.
Do you want to really maximize your prices? That will mean that sometimes you won't get booked, but then the times that you do get booked, you get booked at a higher price.
Yep. Yeah, no, it's absolutely right. And it's hard, when you create a tool, you kind of, as Airbnb is seeing now, you create something that's based on a bunch of data and a bunch of these kind of probability based things. But we realize every single person's different. You might not want to take that risk, or even, let's just say you only had your place available for 2 weeks. If you only had it available for 2 weeks, you're probably going to want to aggressively discount, because those are your only 2 weeks. You don't have another 10 tries to really, probabilistically get that, those 5 other $200 bookings, right?
Right.
You just care about that one. And so for users like that, you can just go in the same way that you would discount on Airbnb's calendar. You can just click that day and discount it on your Beyond Pricing calendar. In the future, we don't want to complicate our product too much too early, because then it'll just get busy. But we also want to give people the power that that they want. So now it's just to adjust individual days. They can do that. In the future, we'll probably do something where we could say decrease prices. We recommend only decreasing this much in the last 7 days, but you can toggle and ignore a recommendation and play around with that more. So we'll look to do that in the future, and make it kind of an advanced option for people that really want it.
Awesome. Well,
Yeah.
thanks for being on the show, and explaining more about your product and discussing the Airbnb tool as well.
Yeah.
For those who are interested in signing up with Beyond Pricing, what can they do?
Well, so they can just go to beyondpricing.com and just sign up there, or better yet, they can also go to Get Paid for Your Pad. I think we'll probably put a link on the podcast too. We have a deal for all your listeners. You get an additional 2 months free, so that'll be 3 free months with the code GP4YP. Get Paid for Your Pad. And you can just either input that code when you sign up, or click through on Get Paid for Your Pad site, and we'll take care of you. One other thing, Jasper, let me put this out there, because we were talking about customer support, and we really have this great customer support team. And one of the things that they're actually empowered to do, FYI, is we have access to all the data behind our pricing recommendations. So if you ever have a question about why we're pricing something, shoot us a note either through our chat channel or through our support email, and our analysts will immediately reply and get you the data so we can show you exactly why we're doing what we're doing. And that's something a lot of people don't know, and we've kind of hidden it, but happy to reveal it to all your insiders. So
Awesome.
definitely take advantage of that.
And if you're listening right now and you do set one price for every single day of the year, then get in touch with Ian, Ian at beyondpricing.com.
Yeah.
Because you're interested in to talk to those people and see what the Airbnb algorithm will make from those prices, right?
Definitely, yeah. No, I would love that, and we'll give you a few extra months free for helping us out with some user testing.
Awesome, Ian. Thanks again, and for all the listeners, you'll find the show notes at getpaidforyourpad.com/podcast. And thanks for listening, and we'll see you next time.
Get paid for your pad. 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 Get paid for your pad.